Hello there. Hope we're doing well today. Yes, so as you can tell by the title of this video, I am unemployed. But the important thing to note is that I am unemployed because I have chosen to walk away from essentially a role, a job that was never my dream to begin with. So, how did we get here? To start off, I don't want to get into the weeds about, why it didn't work out, like the whole journey, because it was a long 6-month long process. No, even longer, I would say. I would say it was almost like 10 months. I don't want to get into that here because I really love this company and the people that I worked with, the CEO, my boss. There is zero bad blood here, like zero. It's truly one of those moments where we want the best for each other. And that meant that I needed to walk away and not tether myself to a role that I could do. I could figure it out. But at what cost? I can do many things. And they weren't saying, Leah, you can't do this. You're not capable. But the real question was, do I want to do this? Because it really is not a creative role at the end of the day. And that is what I am choosing. I am choosing to be a loud creative. I cannot hide it anymore underneath this whole persona of,
acting, it was my past and it's my background and it's still a part of me. But, really, I'm always going to be striving to be the next big time studio exec or to start a revolutionary production company in media.
That could still happen. It could very well still happen in my lifetime. But certainly not at the cost of me sacrificing my creative voice, my visions for myself, my projects. That all still has to happen. And so here I am, a month after officially having that conversation, officially, amicably and mutually deciding that this isn't the right role for me. And I am still unemployed. And this week was hard. This week was a week of me constantly waking up or finding myself throughout the day spiraling and having to just catch myself before I go too deep. And there have been a lot of conversations with people this week because I think I'm over that feeling of elation that comes with clarity, that comes with, stepping into you really choosing you. And now I think it's a lot of the familiar thoughts that are old thoughts, stuff that, I developed to try and protect myself and to feel secure when I was younger, but aren't serving me anymore. And they're holding me back. And so it's me trying not to give into those thoughts. And it's really hard. So I am sharing my story because this is how I am coping, but also a huge part, actually, of these next few steps. And I think the new chapter is me creating for myself. I've been talking about it, me stepping into my creativity, being loud about it and not trying to hide it anymore, not trying to cover it up in this more traditionally acceptable form, and trusting that I have done the work. I've done so much work to not feel like an imposter when I say I'm an actor. I'm a writer, I'm a producer, and I want to direct. I mean, I have directed, and that's the thing. There's so many things that I've done, and yet I have a fear of like having any ownership over that until I feel like I've reached some arbitrary level of success that is being validated by other people. And yeah, we don't have space for that anymore. So, this is the start of something new, to quote Gabriella and Troy. But it's also the start of me getting closer to myself. Yeah. To me, taking finally all of these different interests and passions and skills and using them and not being judgmental of myself in the process, not being ashamed of taking the time to create instead of, I don't know, doing something more like beneficial. I'm doing what has to feel good in my body and what brings me joy, because life is so short. And life is also full of so much beauty and so much joy that I have been forcing myself to ignore or only have just a tiny little dose of. Now, I'm not advocating for us to go full like hedonistic, just that's not what I'm saying. But I would basically stop myself from listening, like listening to what my intuition is saying. And when you do that for long enough, you really start to lose your grasp on who you are. You don't trust yourself. I should just be speaking for myself, but that's what happened to me. I started this master's in creative business at the National Film and Television School. It was my dream program. I found myself 6 months later working for an incredible company. I was living the dream. People were looking at me like, you're already doing it, you know. And I would say, sure, if you say so. And I don't mean that to sound ungrateful for the incredible opportunities that I had. I know that I was incredibly blessed and incredibly fortunate to have found myself in that role while still being so early on in my master's course. But I knew something was wrong. I knew something wasn't sitting right. So thankfully, I had an opportunity to be back on stage and act and have a sort of homecoming, because the show was Kim's Convenience. And that opportunity, being back on that stage, in that role, getting to work with the show's creator, I mean, that was magical. And I wasn't expecting to get emotional. Whew. Here's the funny thing. 2.5 years ago, I would in no way describe myself as a crier or an emotional person. But that's changed. I still wouldn't say I'm a crier, but I cry quite a bit, because now I let myself feel what I'm feeling. And if that means I have to cry, then I'm going to cry. So I am in this new chapter now. I am going to be on YouTube. I have had this podcast in development for some time. It's time to do it. I have had an amazing conversation with my agents here in London. They are all for supporting me on this journey. Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's honestly just the tip of the iceberg. And I cannot wait to really get into this again. I've started to dip my toes back into YouTube. I have been filming a lot because I've got a lot of time. with the unemployment. But I've also been very busy. I have spent the last couple of weeks applying to tons and tons of different kinds of jobs. And I'm not in any way above working at a restaurant. I love working in hospitality. There's a lot about working in hospitality that aligns with my values, just not all of them. And if I have to work another restaurant job to make ends meet, I will do that. I can do that. But after this past week, I realized I have to choose me. I have to internalize that I am a creative person that is going to be making a living off of her creativity and making a living off of honoring her values. That light just went out. I don't think we needed it. And so here we are. And it's terrifying. But what I do know is that I'm going to keep saying yes, and I'm going to see what comes back. And so what I'm also saying yes to is me putting energy into this, for example. I'm taking the time to film this. I'm going to take the time to edit it. And why? Because I enjoy this. And because this represents who I am. Not just like literally you can see my face and hear my voice, but me sitting here talking to you, wanting to have a connection with you and sharing my experience and reflecting on it. I want to do more of that. So if you also want to see me do more of this, you can follow me here, wherever you're watching this. And yeah, it's only just begun.